Hi guys, I hope you're well and you had a good game week. Hopefully with a lot of green arrows all round. Unfortunately, I had a pretty poor game week. A red arrow that drops me from 21k to 45k. So yeah, doubled my rank, which isn't ideal. But this video will be a review of that game week 6, and moving on to how we can look into getting an optimal team for game week 7 and moving on, whether that be through a wild card, through free transfers, or taking hits. We'll be looking into that. So firstly, let's go to my game week 6 team. As you can see on screen, here's my game week 6 team in all its glory. Not. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of captaining Ronaldo. Obviously, in hindsight, anyone could say that it was a mistake, but I do think, as proved by him having the highest effective ownership in the game, a lot of people were in the same boat and they thought that he could easily return. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I missed out on the optimal captaincy options. I had the other two most popular captaincy options in Salah and Antonio. If I'd captained Salah, I lost 5 points on that, and Antonio, I would have lost 7 points on that. So obviously, it's a tough one to take, especially when that made up the majority of my red arrow. Obviously, there were other factors such as Shaw, Trent, Dyer. Like the whole defense in general was very poor. And then on another day, Benrahma really easily could have hauled, and Rafinha perhaps could have got another return. But that's just what happens. Sometimes you pick the wrong captaincy, you make the wrong captaincy decision. But on the whole, I'm to lose only 20k with going for a captain that blanks and the other two captain returns. I'm more than happy just to take that and move on to the next week. The best thing is I was able to roll my free transfer. I just played Dyer instead of Bamford, which obviously wasn't ideal, but leaving me 2 free transfers to manage game week 7 is definitely a chance. Definitely gives me a chance to get back where I lost this week. So firstly, I'd like to talk about injuries, mainly concerning game week 7. This will be in relation to my team and in terms of like the popular players that either got injured or potentially that you're looking to move out of your teams. So see who the most popular transfers are. So obviously, as I said, Patrick Bamford did miss game week 6 with an ankle injury. I was happy to mention him last week as the upcoming games look really good. Like he's got Watford at home this weekend. So if he's back for that, that looks really good on paper. I also tweeted Ben Dinnery. If you guys don't know Ben Dinnery, go and check him out on Twitter. He's at Ben Dinnery, as it says on screen. He is a bit of an expert when it comes to football injuries and timescales in terms of return to play. This is what he said about Patrick Bamford. This is a quotation from his YouTube video before game week 6. And he said, "It looks to be a minor sprain. His ankle is strapped compared with the boot, which is a good indication of the lack of severity." I was quite surprised he didn't make game week 6, and I wouldn't think it's long term. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't back before the international break. So obviously for Patrick Bamford owners or anyone that benched him last week, that's good news. Hopefully we'll get some more concrete information from Bielsa because he's obviously due to speak on the press conferences. I think his is on Friday. So we'll get some more information before the deadline. But obviously Bielsa's normally a very truthful person when it comes to press conferences. So in terms of the Bamford news, hopefully we'll get an obvious decision either way, whether he's fit or not. The same goes for Rafinha and Ayling, as you can see on screen, with these 6 players that are also doubts for game week 7. Ayling obviously missed game week 6, so we need to see if he's going to be back for game week 7. And Rafinha is seeming to be permanently flagged at the moment. But the good thing is that when he's flagged midweek, he always returns at the weekend. So long may that continue against Watford this weekend. I'm sure Rafinha will play, but obviously just listen out for that Bielsa press conference, as I said, just before the weekend. In terms of the other players, they're all from Champions League teams. So we will hear 3 more times from their managers before the deadline. So plenty of time for journalists or whomever to get their questions in about these 4 players. Just what we know so far, we know that Reece James obviously came off against Manchester City. We know he's ruled out of tomorrow night's game versus Juventus. We also know that Kante and Mason Mount are out of that fixture. Kante has COVID and Mount is still recovering from his injury that forced him off at half-time in the match in Gameweek 5. But moving on, we know that Shaw is in contention to play tomorrow night for Manchester United. Harry Maguire is out, and Ole says that it doesn't look good for Maguire. So whether that impacts you keeping Shaw, because obviously Shaw's a very highly owned player, that may be the case. I don't know if Lindelof or Eric Bailly, I don't know if they're as capable alongside Varane, but obviously if you've got other fires to put out in your squad, then keeping Shaw at home to Everton isn't the worst hold in the world, providing that he's fit, of course. We'll also get concrete information, hopefully, because Manchester United are in the early kickoff on Saturday, so we should hear news before the deadline. And lastly, just with Trent Alexander-Arnold, he didn't travel to Portugal for the game versus Porto this evening. So hopefully Klopp gives us a bit more information on why that was, and tells us either tonight or come Friday if Trent will be available for the weekend. So moving on, here we have the Chelsea defenders that a lot of people are looking to either replace Shaw with or just get in on a wild card, whether that be one Chelsea defender and one City defender or 2 Chelsea defenders. I think either options are very good. Obviously, Manchester City have Liverpool away this weekend, so it's not the best fixture for them. But there could easily be a chance of a clean sheet. And down the road, they've got a lot of good fixtures coming up. But in terms of this Chelsea team, as you can see the fixtures on screen, they've got a very good sort of 5 or 6 week fixture run. So I just put this this data on screen for you to see, for you guys to make your mind up on which Chelsea defender you would like to get, or which 2 Chelsea defenders you'd like for the upcoming run. In terms of nailedness, you can see that this is the percentage of starts under Tuchel in the Premier League. So Rudiger with 91%, and moving on to Azpilicueta at 88%, and then Christensen at 70%, James at 61%, and Alonso at 54%. But then if you look at the one above them, that's the Premier League starts this season, and you can see that only 2 players have started all 6 matches, Rudiger and Alonso. And then obviously moving down, we've got 5 out of 6 for both Azpilicueta and Christensen, and 3 out of 6 for James. But note with James that obviously he did receive a red card versus Liverpool, so he wasn't available for some of those fixtures. In terms of points, you can see that the 2 players that have started the most games have got the most amount of points, with Alonso on 39 and Rudiger on 34. I think that if James doesn't recover from his injury, then I think Azpilicueta will play right wing back, Alonso will play left wing back, but obviously there is a chance that Chilwell comes back in if Alonso plays tomorrow night. But then I think it will be a back 3 of Christensen, Rudiger, and Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva's not on this because I didn't have enough room to put everyone on, and I think that these 5 are probably the most optimal picks in terms of price, attacking returns, as you can see at the bottom, but also in terms of guaranteed starts. So some of you will have already moved off Jota this week with the 2 blanks against Leeds and Crystal Palace, but everyone who kept with him was rewarded with a return against Brentford. And in terms of what to do with Jota moving forward, I think I will hold Jota unless we get any sort of like concrete news that Jota is definitely going to be benched for Firmino moving forwards. But if you're looking at the stats for the Liverpool attack, Jota is, by all extensive purposes, a premium forward in a premium attack for a mid price. So if there's even a chance of Jota getting minutes, I know Manchester City at home isn't the best fixture this week, but Watford away in game week 8 after the international break, he's definitely a hold for me if there's sort of any indication that he's going to stay, or at least get consistent minutes. Because as I said, he's such a good option with such a cheap price in a really good attack. Obviously, the other factor is that there's not an ideal set of replacements for Jota, and that's what I'm going to come on to in a second. So as I was saying, there's a lack of clear replacement for Jota, in my opinion, especially in terms of that mid-price midfielder mark. There's only one sort of midfielder in this list that you could call mid-price, and that would be Grealish. And even then, you would have to have maybe 0.4 or 0.5 million to go from Jota to Grealish. So it's still a little bit of money. Obviously, if you're on Wildcard, then you can do whatever you want in terms of the price moves. But just in terms of picking apart these 10 replacements and sort of why I'm waiting a couple more weeks just to really nail down the optimum Jota pick. Firstly, I'm not looking to wildcard in game week 7 or 8. So that means that I can't take a punt on any of these players like other FPL players are doing. They're taking a punt, like a 1 week punt, or maybe Sarr away at Leeds or something. And that would be a good move if I were wildcarding in 8. But at the moment, I'm looking to hold my wildcard. So in terms of the long-term fixtures, I do not think Sarr's a good option. The same with Mbeumo. I think his fixtures are good come game week 10. So if I'm replacing Jota in game week 9, then I could look at maybe benching Mbeumo for 1 week. But again, in terms of dropping a lot of the money from Jota and not necessarily being able to spend it elsewhere instantly, I'm not sure if that would be my best decision. The same with either Zaha or Gallagher. Their fixture run, I think, gets good in game week 9. And if your squad is capable of benching them in game week 10 when they play Manchester City, I think they've got another good 4 or 5 fixtures up until game week 14. So definitely Crystal Palace assets interest me from about game week 9. In terms of Everton and Arsenal assets, I just think that at the moment the FPL points and returns are spread so far around all of their assets that I can't nail down one specific target that I would like. For example, as you can see on screen, there's Smith Rowe, there's Saka. I haven't mentioned Ødegaard, who returned the week before last with an 11-pointer. And then in terms of Everton, as you can see, there's Townsend, there's Gray, and there's Doucouré. And all three of them for both teams are getting FPL points. So there's no sort of real person that if you see on your phone pop up Arsenal goal, you're not sure exactly that one of them is going to be involved. And the same for Everton. I want someone that's sort of going to be the talisman for their club if they're going to. And as soon as they score a goal, it pops up and you just know it's going to be one of them, or it's more likely to be one of them. And the same with Grealish at Manchester City. He's sort of more similar to Jota in terms of is he a minutes risk with Foden and Kevin De Bruyne coming back? He's more expensive, and he's also got less attacking returns, or expected attacking returns, I should say. So yeah, in terms of Jota, I'm happy to keep him and see how it goes. Moving on to the early captaincy options. These are the three that I reckon will be the most popular this game week in terms of FPL. I think that Lukaku and Ronaldo will be the two most popular. In terms of the stats, like I have on screen, Lukaku is playing in the statistically worst attacking team of the three, West Ham, Chelsea, and Manchester United. But he's also playing against the worst defence out of all three. So in terms of that, I put out a Twitter polls on my Twitter, which is @FPL Fredster. If you're not following me, go and have a look and get involved in the polls and tweets, etc. Tweet me if you have any questions after this, by the way. But I put out a Twitter poll and I said, if you owned all three of these players or anyone else actually, who would you captain? And 81% of people said that they would captain Lukaku for this game week. So obviously, not everyone will have a way to get to Lukaku, or will have other fires to put out before they can do sort of a luxury transfer from Ronaldo, who has Everton at home, to Lukaku, that has Southampton at home. And I completely understand that. But if you're doing a wild card this week, I would definitely get Lukaku in and captain him. Again, Antonio as another differential captain, like last week. I don't think it's as good a fixture as Leeds away, Brentford at home. But, you never know. Brentford conceded 3 goals to Liverpool, and West Ham at home are a very attacking side. So, if you want to go sort of slightly left field, Antonio is a good option. So here are my potential transfers. Obviously, I have 2 free transfers. I have actually already done Luke Shaw to Rudiger because I had the 0.1 million in the bank just before Rudiger went up to 5.7. So I went from Luke Shaw to Rudiger using one of my free transfers yesterday. The other transfer that I'm looking to make would be Ronaldo to Lukaku and captain Lukaku. But obviously, I would have to wait and see more in terms of whether Bamford, Rafinha, Trent Alexander-Arnold are all fit, and I would have to see whether Jota is potentially not going to start against Manchester City, whether I took him out as well. But as I've already said, the replacements aren't that tempting this week. So even if Jota would be on the bench, I'm not sure if I would take him out this week. So looking at how these transfers would make me line up, I would look a bit like this. Apologies, I've got my old current overall rank on there, so that should actually be 46,000. But yeah, if you're looking at all of these players, and if all of these players are fit, on paper it looks like a very good starting team. I would give Lukaku the captain's armband, and on paper this looks a very good team. So obviously we'll get a lot more news between now and the deadline, and I'm sure a lot more people will be making transfers and price rises, etc. So it's just something to note if you are making early moves. Obviously, a lot of teams do play midweek football in Europe, so just be careful of potential injury concerns. But if you've got a wild card in your back pocket, potentially it's worth trying to jump on the early moves and seeing if you can make some money. So looking forward, there'll be another video out at some point this week, just sort of confirming what my transfer plans are going to be. And if you guys have any questions or anything that you'd like to see in the video, let me know. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like or subscribe, as that helps a lot. Thank you very much. Hope you have a nice day.